For some insight into the military strategy, I spoke with retired U.S. Air Force General Hawk Carlisle. He's in Washington. General, from a military and strategic perspective, what do you make of the Russian attacks on targets in Kyiv?
Strategically, he's trying to back NATO down, which I think he got exactly opposite of what he expected. He wants to move NATO away from his borders. He's getting exactly the opposite. If you look at what's happening in the Baltic states and on the eastern flank of NATO. So, you know, that's the part strategically right now that to me is very concerning.
At what point do you think the West moves from helping Ukraine with self-defense by providing weapons to actually providing defense?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I mean, if you look at the world leaders and you look at where NATO is, and they really want to get to the defense of Ukraine. They really believe it because they can't allow this to go unanswered. Certainly for other authoritarian regimes like Xi Jinping, it would be catastrophic to allow this to stand. But they're doing everything in their power to do it via other means. And frankly, if you look at where things are going, they're having some level of success by supporting Ukraine with supplies and capability. They're bolstering the Ukrainian defense. And again, I think Mr. Putin underestimated the Ukraine. You know, I think the Western powers and the leaders of the Western countries in NATO are doing everything in their power to not give him an excuse by putting NATO troops into Ukraine or NATO capability, actual NATO fighting in Ukraine, but still having the same impact of helping defend Ukraine while at the same time diminishing Russia.
General, you know NATO carried out airstrikes during the Kosovo War in 1999. They did that without UN approval because it was a humanitarian intervention at the time to stop the slaughter of ethnic Albanians. What is different in 2022 in Ukraine?
In this case, you have an evil strategist like Mr. Putin that has nuclear weapons, has chemical, biological weapons. And so it's a different context. And of course, and we're 20 years later. It's a different world that we live in. 1999, China was not the power that they are today. There wasn't the challenges in other parts of the world as well. So, you know, I think it's just a different scenario today with Ukraine. And I think what the leaders in the West and NATO are doing is trying to do everything they can short of giving Putin a context to attack other parts of NATO, especially the Baltic states, which I think would be Moldova and the Baltic states, I think would be his next targets.
Retired U.S. Air Force General Hawk Carlisle, thanks.